Hey everybody, how's it going? In today's video, we will be covering MMA fighters' craziest MMA slugfest of all time. The desire between the two combatants is what truly counts in determining whether or not a bout will be interesting, not exactly where it ends up. Both combatants have shown us some fantastic exchanges, and we have also witnessed some stunning grappling from them. However, what occurs when both combatants abandon all of their skills in favor of a full-on brawl? The best brawlers have advanced to a new level as mixed martial arts, MMA, has developed and improved over time. But what about those crazy brawls we saw, where warriors threw caution to the wind and hoped for a single hit that would knock out their opponent? Please let us know how we performed after we handpicked the greatest 10 slugfests we have ever watched. Without further ado, here is the wildest MMA slugfest of all time. Rory MacDonald vs. Robbie Lawler 2. Lawler slipped through a number of familiar gears during those 21 minutes he spent in the cage with Rory MacDonald on Saturday night. As the two engaged in a brawl that elevated the already excellent pay-per-view, he alternated from being casual and deadly serious. Robbie was up against the fence after Rory had really given him a kick, sending both of them into full-on slug mode.
Now, Robbie staggered by that kick. He's hurt. He's hit again. 15 second elbow.
Lawler was on the verge of giving up in the middle, but he managed to bounce back and win via TKO early in the fourth round. Upon winning, Lawler left MacDonald battered and bloody from a severed nose as he stood in the middle of the cage, yelling with joy after successfully defending his 170-pound belt for the first time. John Lineker against Francisco Rivera. Without providing any background information, you would undoubtedly be perplexed by John Lineker's sudden shift in approach if I told you that he defeated Francisco Rivera via guillotine choke in barely 2 minutes. He does, after all, solicit contributions since when? His sole victory in the UFC came by submission, but not before one of the wildest sequences of uncontrollable chaos you will ever witness.
Spots here! Wow! And Rivera's still swinging at him! He's out of it and still swinging at him! And Rivera takes him down, but
it was just two soldiers yelling at each other at the end of the day. Wanderlei Silva versus Brian Stan Silva fulfilled all the predictions made by detractors. He delivered a series of straight punches into the center of the Silva storm while flat-footed, waiting for a cunning fighter like Sin to manage the distance. Stans, however, was swept up in the occasion and attempted to defeat Wanderlei Silva rather than aiming to beat Wanderlei Silva. He scented blood and pounced pure marine aggressiveness. After the first time he hit Silva, there were no more antics, only animal fury and bloodlust, which was exactly the type of fight Wanderlei Silva was looking for.
And they're slugging away, Silva goes down again! Big right hand lands for Stan. Wanderlei goes down again, but...
Chuck Liddell versus Wanderlei Silva. This one was exceptional since it not only lived up to the excitement but also went above and beyond what was expected of it. Chuck was ruling the UFC at the same period. In pride, Wanderlei was unstoppable thanks to his quick knockouts, thrilling bouts, and large victories. Every MMA fan's ideal matchup was Chuck Delvers versus Wanderlei Silva. For 3 rounds, the bout was an absolute slugfest, and it delivered.
Single person is sitting here inside the Mandalay Bay. Wanderlei, combination.
Pat Barry versus Chet Congo. If you followed mixed martial arts for any length of time, you've probably heard about or remembered Chet Congo's historic victory over Pat Barry in 2011. The main event of UFC on vs. 4 took place in Pittsburgh, and the heavyweight bout justifiably took home the title of widespread knockout of the year.
Oh my! Big right hand! Pat Barry! Can Congo really survive?
It looked like he was out.
He is now! He's Barry looking to finish the fight.
Still disoriented and staggering across the cage, a halt by referee Dan Miragliotta appeared to be the only thing that could be considered a humane outcome at that moment. Even still, Congo, who appeared to be about to nod out, continued to grab for her leg, to scrabble, to search for a way out, and he found his chance. After staggering to his feet, he connected with 2 powerful right blows that sent Barry to the ground, ending the fight in the first round. Diego Sanchez versus Gilbert Melendez. Gilbert Melendez and Diego Sanchez have been promising pyrotechnics from their lightweight matchup at UFC 166 for the whole week. And they delivered wow. Melendez and Sanchez engaged in a 15-minute wild brawl that will go down as one of the best fights of the year and leave a lasting impression. In the end, Melendez won via unanimous decision in Houston's Toyota Center, taking scores of 29-28, 30-27, and 29-28. Melendez, the former WEC and Strikeforce champion, prevailed in each of the exciting opening 2 rounds. Early in the first round, Sanchez actually put Melendez in a chokehold as he was mounted on a standing back. However, Melendez seized control and used a standing elbow to open a deep gash on Sanchez's left eyebrow, from which he bled heavily for the remainder of the fight. At round 3, there was 5 minutes of pure bliss. Though he may not be the most technically gifted boxer in the world, the traditional Diego Sanchez has more heart than any fighter to have ever entered an octagon.
Slides just out of range. Oh, man.
Man, they're firing away.
And look,
They
Diego
continue to throw.
eats it and charges forward.
Unbelievable action.
Sanchez was surrounded by the Toyota Center audience as the two rained vicious fists on one another, acting like two tiny vendorless sovas. Don Frye versus Yoshihiro Takayama. Nothing beats the classic Don Frye versus Yoshihiro Takayama matchup from Pride 21. UFC Hall of Famer Frye faced off against pro wrestler Takayama in now-defunct Japanese promotion Pride back in 2002, and they brutalized one another. The contest resembled a hockey fight rather than an MMA bout, and the duo swung for defenses on the way to Frye picking up a first-round win. The stare down that the two fighters shared before the bell rang showed the intensity that was about to follow. The fight began with both men holding one another in striking range as they brawled into the corner.
Pride Fighting Championship demolition, and there's that right hand! They're duking it out, not right with right hand! Takayama! Oh, look at this!
Later on, Takayama would commit an expensive error, with Frye in the corner being held. The former heavyweight champion of the IWGP attempted to submit him to the mat. After countering, the more skilled Frye got on top of Takayama and started ground and pounding until he was declared the winner via TKO. Dennis Bermudez against Matt Grice. Even though a tie could have been the most appropriate outcome for the fight, Bermudez-Grice prevailed via split decision in the closing moments. It was a significant conflict that had several opportunities to be avoided. Grice used a left hook to collapse Bermudez in the opening round, but Herb Dean allowed them to go on. In a back-and-forth battle, Grice used powerful hooks and punches to prolong the carnage in the second round. Bermudez, who was most likely losing the bout by that moment, put Grice on skates in the third round with vicious uppercuts and unrelenting aggressiveness.
Now to the body. Uppercut. What an insane. Swinging away. What a battle. Front kick.
Ricardo Lamas against Max Holloway. Nearly 4 years have passed since Lamas and Holloway squared off at UFC 199 at the Foreman in Gold, California. However, the footage of the crazy, non-stop 10-second discussion is still making the rounds on the internet. Defense was dropped and the punches started coming as Holloway gestured to the mat, and Lamas nodded in agreement.
Multiple occasions. Wow. And it looks like they're going to swing to the very end.
And he wasn't kidding.
Wow.
It's very rare.
It was an impressive sight, one that even Bleed Guy would be pleased with. We were sort of challenging one another, Lamas said to MMA Junkie. If you rewatch that third round, I was going like this, Lamas gestured to himself. I knew who was ahead on the scorecards. In the final 10 seconds, he finally gave in, gestured to the ground, and we began to throw down. Shogun Hua versus Dan Henderson. Henderson had just defeated Fedor Emelianenko via knockout, so everyone knew he was still capable of being quite harsh. Even though Hua had just defeated Forrest Griffin by knockout, it didn't seem like we were going to have an epic battle. We had the impression that someone was about to suffer a severe knockout. But when you combine two powerful punchers with iron jaws and years of expertise in a cage, you get something truly amazing. They engaged in an epic battle that neither has been able to top since they went for each other hard. Henderson assumed control of the battle early on, and Hua's face was already beginning to look a little shambles in the first few minutes. Henderson gave Hua a few flurries before they engaged in a close-quarters battle that ended with a knockout. Even yet, it was really a symbolic victory over the Henderson.
And a big punch.
Big shots.
Shogun's in big
Shogun's
trouble.
covering up.
He's standing right in front of him.
Henderson.
Shogun is a bloody mess already.
Alright, MMA fans, thank you so much for sticking around to the end of this video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, make sure to hit the notification bell and don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Also, don't forget to comment below what video you want to see next.